I can tell you we really had a good time, except for the bad times. I mean, in '76 when they took us. You know, they even took away the warden of Mary Stewart, Nanzil, brother from Africa, was taken from Africa and killed. Her body was found up country somewhere. That we don't even know the details of the story, but she was taken away.
Why?
For that strike, we demonstrated. There was even no strike actually. We just marched. We marched to Kiburi. You know, when they killed Paul Sewanga at the gate of University Hall, Secret Service. So I'm telling you, we are reckless and we survived narrow. Because we put on our red gowns and marched through here, Kampala Road. And the state research were four each side of the road. We marched. I can't count. We were huge. We marched from Makerere up to one day. The group, the procession was big, and went up to Kiburi, buried, and hell. As we were burying there, the military police commander, he organized jeeps from Makerere. As we were just descending, and they went and drove them up the hill. So as we were coming down, these jeeps came to crush us. But fortunately, we were young. Being young is a very good thing. We fell in trenches, jumped off, each one flew in the air. At least they never killed the person. So we came, and some people who were clever went home. So we thought the thing is over. We walked back. Not knowing what was in the store. Now in the middle of the night. Of course, when we came back, we were jovial. Although we were scattered, some didn't come back, and people were saying, should we run away? We thought it was secure, so we slept. So in the middle of the night, they were banging the doors everywhere. We were taking out and paraded. Started from Makerere Stewart and Rumumba. They were the first ones they attacked because they were the biggest and noisiest boys. African Livingston, those sides, they would not help us when we needed them. Even the one of recent, like the one of Volanya, 1990. Actually, I was not around in 1990. I was in Russia when this incident took place. We call it the Black Tuesday. I don't know what they called that day. For us, it was Tuesday, Black Tuesday for Serwanda. And when I heard that somebody had been shot dead by police, so that was very unfortunate. Very, very, very regrettable. Not a good thing. But Makerere, you can see remains in Makerere. All these leaders, top leaders, were leaders at Makerere. The list of them. Whoever has been, who was either, for them they were still having, you know, when Amin came, the first thing he abolished was anybody being called president. And I was, for example, president of the history club in Barra High School. He said, no more president. So I lost my presidency and became a chairman. And I lost my presidency then. Everybody there was only one president. When people get peace, and the Bible says, when you become rich and you have animals and you have herds and you build houses and you do not forget
where you've come
where
from.
I got you from. Now, what peace does is people forget. People forget about where they came from. The history of Uganda is not well written, first of all. So the young people are not reading first, researching. Those who are supposed to research are not researching, and they are not writing. So we have that gap, and it's partly our fault. We are the ones who should be writing properly now. We are the ones who should be teaching, and we should make a specific program. You know, America had a program on radio every night in the 60s, as early as the 60s. It was called The Making of a Nation. Daily. We used to listen to it before we understood English. The Making of a Nation. They explained where their history was. They started with the liberation, the independence, and what they have gone through. So it was consistent. If any of you took up a research on such, mission of Uganda, it can be a very good project. Because Makerere has the ability to research. That I am going to request Makerere to make that their project. 100 years project. We write the history of Uganda, the making of Uganda. I will give you a book. Last November I published a book, and one of it has my life at Makerere. It's about art, at my art life at the university. See how young I look. You know, when I was young, see my afro. So they used to see me. Now, that's very romantic. This was a song, a praise song about my hair. Leave the combs and cleanliness to him. Era to Rumunyeto is a proud youth in Makerere. That is.
Life of his faith.
So how did you cope up with the life at university without a parent?
That was the magic. You read it in here. The magic was, as I was going to bury him, I was saying, I will manage. And that year, removes the little allowance they were giving. I saw you striking over small allowance. There, Makerere, of course, we were not paying fees, but there was a boom. There was allowance and cut seat. And it's the year we were, so that's why I joined in 1974, who were the first victims of no allowance from government. Now, my father dies and I'm starting the university. My relatives had suggested I don't go to university, I look after my home. I said, I will manage. And I have never been as rich as when I was at Makerere. Yes, I'm now rich, relatively rich, but the expense, the responsibilities I have now, compared to what I had at Makerere and the responsibilities I had then, I'm rich. I was richer then. I could have used a special wire to come to town and go back. Me, I was a camera person. They called me campus photographer. When you see me with my camera, always, these ones who are learning. Me, I started from an Olympus pen in 1974, which was my magic to become rich. That camera started me to between 5 and 7 every day after lecture. Run quickly, go and, in that time, remember we were using cafeteria. Run very fast, be among the first, take tea and pick my camera. That time, I don't know whether they still bench. They would find these couples benching and
take pictures of
and
them.
you take one photograph. Then you tell them change. Now for them, they don't know why they're changing because every photograph is the cost. So you tell them change, then they change a new position. You say change, then they change like this. Change. So if they do 5 changes, those are 5 photographs. And for me, it is the price times 5. Now between 5 and 7, I would finish about 2 or 3 films.
So you would shoot
The
around
entire film. Those
Yes,
are very
the
many
university.
photos.
Yes, there were many photos. 36 times 3. I had a whole suitcase full of negatives. But one day, my wife was cleaning the house and did not know their value. But another suitcase was burnt when I went to the bush.
Okay.
I left it with somebody who left it with Enos, and Enos fearing to be arrested, said him to burn my whole suitcase of albums. But I had some good. I'm done by them who started this giving of photographs immediately after the event. Express. And we started with the boxing in the main hall. That was our first event. When I developed my money business, I got 2 of my friends who were artists also, and who joined me. So it became 3. So we divided ourselves. One would be taking, one would be in the dark room, another one would be setting up. Would be setting up at the table out. That was the first time boxing. By the time these boxers came out, we had their photographs.
Ready.
That was our first meet.
Express,
Then
yeah.
after that, we did sports at the football field, at the ground. Take people when they are about, and take Makerere Stewart girls cheering from their windows up. You zoom, you put them and find those who are putting up their hands. So I made money at Makerere.
Can you tell a story of how the art side at Makerere has impacted your life? Because it's really part of your life.
My art life at Makerere, I think, was the most exciting time of my youth. For us, we have had a more exciting youth. For us who live after cattle. When you are young, you really have the opportunity to go into the field, to live with nature. And that's I think the best opportunity you can have. Because many people don't know about the universe, don't know about the world, don't know about these surroundings of nature, plants, animals. So at least I can say as a youth, my most, in spite of the challenges of a bad regime, but as a youth, my art life at Makerere was very, very exciting. And mainly not because of anything else, but because of the subject.
So you love nature?
Yes, not nature. I was liberated to think freely. That's why I'm calling my book Liberated. That's the title. Liberated, my art life. You see, liberation of your mind is the most important. For art, you are exposed to blow your mind free and create your limit. And you are only introduced how to do it. You're introduced to study. I talk about objective studies. How to look at things in an objective way from all points of view. Don't look at somebody's face and you just look at the top of the front face. No. You'll find the ear is a little bit different from the other. You'll find that the shape of the neck or the nose is somehow unique. You'll find part of his head doesn't have hair. You will find how she has styled her hair different from how he does his. Now, objective study. And that then you are shown how to capture moments with your pen, with your pencil, and how to present what you have in your head, both in painting, in drawing, and even like me, I eventually majored in history of art and studied the art histories of the world. So, and you see how your mind is liberated. Now, Makerere at that time, academically, still had a very good standard. And the Makerere Art School, as it was called then, was the only one in East Africa that was teaching art. Yes, it was teaching art. So, that experience, art life at Makerere was very good. And I wrote about some of my lecturers. Actually, I can tell you, they never benched because the time people were benching me, I was making money from them. Then after they would take me to their rooms, and they would invite me to take them when they are in there I would take 10. And I never had a girlfriend at Makerere. So those who bench are those who go to this. Now you sometimes also observe. That was another fun I would enjoy. This girl has been benching with so and so. Now the next month,
You take a picture of
she's
the
benching with somebody else. And for those ones, I take more because they are still fresh. They are still and they haven't had photographs. So,
So I wanted to ask you, when you chose to do art at university, in an area where people were choosing law, engineering, did your parents feel like, okay, I know they were not very informed about these courses, but maybe your colleagues, they feel like you think an inferior
My story of
course?
choosing art started from senior one. We had a teacher called Rokro Ganzi who had who used to play, who was an artist but also a guitarist. He used to play in White Nile here in Nakolavi in his free time. But he's the one who came to teach us. Now, I got interested in art not because of anything else, but to enjoy rock guys' guitar in the art room. Now, by the end of senior one, he's the one who advised me. And his advice was great. He's the one who told me that you should, when you reach senior 4, do art as your fourth principle. Because that time art was given as a fourth principle if you had to do it at HSC. And that's how we ended up, instead of going to other schools, I ended up in Tofu. Because I was looking for schools which had art as a fourth principle. I would have wanted to go to Ontario or other things, but they didn't have art. Now, at HSC, the teacher called, he died, Professor Francis Musango Guantamu, was the one who made the final nail of my becoming an artist. This lawyer, I wanted to be a lawyer like my two uncles, my actual cousins. The famous John Wycliffe Okazora and the famous Gracie Bingira. These are one is the cousin on my mother's side, another is the cousin on my father's side. Now these were the people who admired. And I wanted to be a lawyer. Even the subjects I had taken at HSC were for law. Until that Musango Guantamu in a classroom made the fun, and I followed him up. Said, you people, if you want, when you are an artist, you don't have to look for a job. So I took him on his word. On Saturday, I go to visit him at his house. And I find him in the compound, painting. So I come, he gives me a stool. I sit at his side, he continues painting, and we are talking about general things. And I said, sir, I've come to ask you about what you said in class. He used to laugh heartily. He said, what crime did I commit in class? He said, what crime did I commit in class? I said, sir, you said that if you are an artist, you want to look for a job. He said, don't you see me? This has nothing to do with teaching. I'm teaching just because I'm interested. But my most interest is in art. And this, what I do, is not only for Uganda here. I sell it to America, I sell it everywhere, and I enjoy it. Now, me, I was excited about enjoying it. And I enjoy it. That's what convinced me to go to do fine art at Makerere. Unfortunately, I passed it well with the B1 in S4 and the principal A in A level. And then Musango he actually helped me to teach after senior 6 in one of the schools in Masaka. And even when I finished Makerere, he's the one who, by then he was an inspector of schools, of art schools in Uganda. He posted me in his school. So we then became very great friends. So he was very influential in my deciding. Now, you people who are talking about Michael, what did they have to do with me? The colleagues, those who wanted to be lawyers, they went. Those who wanted, it's what I like. I don't know, as you have said, our parents, we are not very concerned with what you are going to do. If your teachers were not good at giving you career guidance, you will go where your marks take you.
Sure.
But I am glad that here it was not marks. It was convinced by my friend, by my teachers, take a profession. The art world is a different world. There is nothing liberating as you having the freedom and the means to create what is not there. And without you feeling bad, there are two types of people in the world. Category number 1 are those who create what is not there. And there are very few. Now, category number 2 are those who just follow what category number 1 has created. And that's why I will never follow the one who designed the tie. Because really, to the whole world, do you know the purpose of a tie? That hanging piece of cloth. A rope in somebody's neck. But people just follow. Why? Because one person created it, designed it. So that's the gift of art, that you have been given, you are empowered to create what is not there. And that's why I'm saying my years at Makerere were very important, were fundamental in transforming the rest of my life. My thinking, my philosophy, my happiness, my joy, unlimited. So Makerere's lifetime. Now, what was spoiling, what spoiled our life at Makerere? I was there 74, 77. I was doing art, but also with a diploma in education. And that's how I ended up being a teacher, an art teacher. We are doing it concurrently. BA with a bachelor, BA fine art and diploma in education. We had the same class with different people who were doing Karoro, was doing literature, but we meet in the same class, and many others. So, what was only spoiling us was a difficult time. As I have told you, we entered Makerere the year, part allowance, which was called Boom. And we had to look after ourselves. Then there were shortages. That was the first time when university started having people bringing cassava at the entrance. You found it, you think it is normal. And before it wasn't. The ones who were before us were eating butter, bread and butter at break, and in the evening. Because I visited Makerere a year before, before I came to Makerere, and I found they were eating like lords. So it was a year which started having difficulties to look after yourself.
We were told they used to clean rooms for you people by that time.
Everything. But there were years when they came, all those were began
Polished.
Then they would even book allowance, even things like that. I can tell you, we used it to line up for every essential commodity. It's from those 1970s when all commodities got finished. So for basics, soap, sugar, beer, cigarettes, we used to line up at the canteen. But the shortages affected us further. We ran out of art materials. Because they used to be imported, from colors to all materials that are normally used in the art school. That actually liberated us to use whatever was available. That's when we started doing more of what is called collage. You know, when you put materials together, you can leave anything you can use to put together to create an art piece. And we became very innovative. It was a challenging of shortage, but we had to survive within those shortages. So, as God would have it in my art, we started an association with Makerere Finance Students Association. I was the secretary general. In 1976, I think that's when Uganda was hosting the OAU. And Amin invited the North Koreans to do gymnastics. And all children of these schools in Kampala were doing practice in Kivubo. Then they wanted to do books. So if a child opens a book, the word, they will join. If they are like 2,000 children, if they open page 1, a letter will come. Page 2, a word will come. So they tasked the art school to design those books. When we were still designing those books, then they wanted the portrait of Elly Tumwine to be put behind Nakivubo, so that whenever you are seated, anywhere, you see him. Imagine it was 16 meters by 10. 16 meters by 10. Now, then the lecturers feared. When it was brought to the School of Fine Art, the lecturers feared to paint Elly Tumwine, because they had threatened some of our artists and teachers and lecturers had already left. So they said, we are giving it to the association. Now, could we refuse? So 4 of us were selected, members of the association, to do that portrait of Elly Tumwine. The soldiers would bring the photographs of Elly Tumwine and guard them as we paint. In the evening, they take them away. They bring them in the morning. You know, it was so big. Then he had his medals here. To paint those medals, he would be sitting on a medal this big. But the beauty of it is that we were given a good money. We were paid 1.4 million in 1976. 4 of us. We were told to open a bank account. That was my first time I opened a bank account. And we made the portrait of Idi Amin. It is still in the Ministry of Education before. That huge thing. But the Ministry of Education put money on our account, and as I told you, I became richer than I am now, even at Makerere. I used to wear bare bottoms, I had my briefcase, I had my sunglasses, plus I said buy poverty. I made a shop for my sister in the village. So that was a blessing in disguise.
Yes.
But of course, bad things remain bad things. You've heard of the Black Tuesday of 1976? Of course, as I've said, as I have told you earlier, we no longer had the guild. We only had chairmen of halls. And they were not called presidents, because that one ended in 1971. Now, one day, one night, there was always tension between soldiers and Makerere. There used to be UVS vehicles of state research, which used to come to Makerere, very slim, black cars. Whenever they would enter the compound, we would all go to the rooms to hide, because you don't know whom they are coming to speak. So one day, they would come, drive around. One day, the state research killed a student called Paul Serwanga at the entrance at the small gate of University Hall. In cold blood. Now the following day, now before that, a group of artists were staying in Lumumba with me. And the real horror competition, unusual horror competitions were very high. So one of us called Chivira, was majoring in sculpture, designed a sculpture which he brought at the entrance of Lumumba of a soldier, and welded it in metal. It was a small piece like this. Now, when that day happened, the art school was almost the source of all the placards. We printed a lot of placards from the School of Fine Art, and we were taking to our. By then, our chairman of Lumumba was the chairperson was Kagata Namiti. Kagata Namiti was our chairman, and he was very vocal. So he mobilized us to go to the city square following the death of Serwanga. And then we resolved, let's put on our red gowns, and we march and go and bury Serwanga in Kibuli. That's where he was coming from. That's where his parents were. That was, think about it now, a very daring
maneuver.
So we marched big numbers from Makerere through the streets of Wandegia, through Kampala Road. We marched singing down. We buried. Now on our way back, while we were there, they organized military jeeps from Makindi, military police jeeps. The jeeps came at a very high speed. I think the intention was to crush as many as possible. But being young is good, because nobody was killed by those, was crushed. But we flew away. And then some people who were clever went home, went to stay out away. Now some of us, we think that was over. We are very proud also that we have demonstrated. We came back to our halls of residence. Now, in the middle of the night, at around 3 or 4, the soldiers, they came and broke into our rooms, both in Makerere Stewart, in Lumumba. After they started, got everybody out of their rooms, put them into front of the hall, and started beating them badly, making them to crawl, walk on their knees, beat some girls. There were stories that some might have been raped, but you know, it's not a good thing to say you have been raped. But some were taken to police. Now, in the middle of the night, of course, they found our sculpture at the gate. He had not got the name of Gongom. He got the name after that, Black Tuesday, because they crashed, they beat this, they beat the they broke the sculpture at the end of our gate, which was put there just to symbolize a god. They broke it down and destroyed it. So they gathered all the Lumumba people in front of Lumumba there on the steps, let them crawl on their knees. The same with the Lumbok's girls, and brought them together. Then they went inside the rooms. Whoever they would find the rooms, they would send them down at the square of A block. Now, me, when I heard them, and they were banging doors everywhere, I was on the third floor, on block C, third floor, C316, with my label of John chapter 3 verse 16. I went into the wardrobe. Remember, I has very small wardrobes. So I went into my wardrobe and pulled the door and held it. Now, these soldiers came running and I left the door open so that I am not there. So when these soldiers came, my housemate had gone out, he was not there. My roommate, he didn't sleep that night, he didn't come. I think he was among the clever ones. So they opened. Now, when these soldiers opened, I think they were a bit tired. So one of them sat the opposite bed and lit a cigarette. Then when his friend came, he said, "What unafanya nini hapa?" Then this I said, "I'm looking at this thing." And he said, "What? Hii ni ya mkono au ni ya camera?" He was looking at some of my drawings. Is this by hand or by a camera? Then his friend said, hii itaweza kuwa ya mkono, hii ya camera. Then his friend, I think, was a bit educated. He said, lazima hii ni ya mkono. So naona ile ni karamu. I was almost, of course, so they laid and I thought they would, I was praying they leave. By God's grace, they leave. I remain in the wardrobe. Then everything is so quiet. Now I start worrying. Suppose they are going to take everybody out and close me in. How will I survive? So I got out. First of all, I wanted to use myself. Apart from the time, at what time they came, when you normally go to the room, but also the fear. So I thought of what to do. Fortunately, I had an empty crate of soda in my wardrobe. Then when everything was so quiet, I then wanted to find out what was happening. When I peeped down, I had people were crying. When I peeped, I found the soldiers had made everybody lie down on the square of a block, and they were kicking them and beating them with parts of guns. I ran back to my room. Now, when I was running back, I think some soldier saw that somebody was running. So two came running after me. I went back to my wardrobe and closed. Left the door open. So they said, "Meingia what? Meingia what? Meingia what?" They found my door open, they looked around. "Meingia what? Meingia what? Meingia what?" And went back. So I stayed So I survived like that night. Now in the morning, we found that Gongom that sculpture had been broken. So we carried it back to the School of Fine Art, and this time made a bigger sculpture together with Chidra. He's the one who was good at metal welding. So we said, now let's give Gongom a real height, give him a long penis, so that he's in charge of this place. At least if they come back, he will stop them. Now, you know, students, smaller things. So we went looking for metal pieces to reconstruct Gongom. That group of ours. And Kivira welded it and we took it back. Now, then we named him Gongom. And then how Gongom it came about, I don't know. But it was, some people said, this is Gongom. Now, after some time, they said Gongomes cannot be alone. He needs a spouse. So go, and then we went and sculpted Gongomes. Stay with him and give him company. And that was celebration. But that was after. But what had happened in Africa, what had happened in Mary Stewart with the guard, many people had been taken to Wandega police station, bleeding, some with broken limbs. The warden of Africa, Nanzeri Kenya, disappeared, and she was later found, and we told, the story says that she was found dead up country. The tension was at campus.
There is a story that Gongom, the sculpture, was sculpted after a security guard of Lumumba who was killed by Amin's forces, and that Gongomes was his wife. That's why the sculpture of Gongomes was made in tribute to his wife. That is the story at Makerere right now.
Yeah. No,
how true is it?
No, I think it was, they just created it to see how Gongomes came about. That word, I don't know where it came from, Gongom. There was no security guard of Lumumba who was killed. It was just created out of artistically. Gongom, just I think to emphasize the size. There could have been a guard who was big at Lumumba called Gongom. But the idea of Gongomes came just out of the room box. Partnership and friendship. Yes. And because there is no way you could have even a Gongom and Gongomes. It's not a local. It's not a local language. It's an English thing. So that's what happened, and how Gongom comes about. It becomes a symbol. Instead of even talking about the other big important things like Lumumba, now Gongom and Gongomes became with it. Do you know that he was even brought here in the city square? I think it was 86 or 87. Yes, there's a time when they were marching, some students were marching, and they carried Gongom and Gongomes up to the post office, and it was very exciting. So, you know, it was just something artistic that united the spirit, that brought the spirit that expressed the spirit of the oneness between Lumumba and Mary Stewart. The Lumbok's Empire, I'm still the patron of that Lumbok's Empire, and I enjoy it very much. So what I can add to my life at Makerere was the amount of fear that was put at Makerere. You know, when they killed Karumizi, the Vice Chancellor, even before we came, the tension that was there was so much. And the state research, people were staying in our halls, claiming that they are studying, even when they are not even studying. They were watching everything from Makerere very, 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 very closely. So the tension that was there was that here you have young people whose minds were relatively free, but you don't know what that means. It's like a big shadow over you, and you fear for your life. You don't have right. They used to go to nightclubs, themselves alone, thinking you wouldn't dare to go to a nightclub. So we never enjoyed nightclubs out, like some of our colleagues before. Whatever was to be done could only be done inside the hall. Now, if you come to the culture of Lumumba, was that because students are always interested in organizing, we had at least the whole committee and all the different ministers, and we would have the common room. Our most common place was the common room of Lumumba. There were those who were always interested to go and make speeches in the common room. at different times. So somebody would say, you would go and find even somebody alone making a speech about this situation. And while we were fearing, of course, we were hoping there were no state research people. But he said, even if I am alone here, but I am not happy as a citizen of Uganda. And he's joined by 2 people, he's joined by 3 people, he's joined by a group. Then another one person says, my idea is this one. Now, what is interesting was what happened after they beat us. My room used to be used as a coffee room for the Christian Union group in the room. This present Professor Muranga, the husband of the other lady Muranga of the bananas, was our chairperson. We even had this Dr. Chindi and his wife, the late wife. So one day, we are there in our fellowship, and we are, after that incident, on Wednesday, we used to eat on Wednesday. And we used to have, my room used to be a fellowship coffee room. So after being beaten, we were just lamenting. We said, how can this illiterate person rule us? Now, one doctor, Sheikh Masco, he's still alive, said, you know what? From now on, let's organize. And I'm going to be the president. He said, you, General Tumwine, be the army commander. Then he said, you will be my minister. A joke. Just a joke like that. So he said, oh, Your Excellency, and he left. Now, 1986, after we captured power, I go to London. After that, he went to London. He's still I think he's still there. And he met me in the High Commission, Uganda High Commission. And we beat each other, excited. What? I said, you man, you know that you have accomplished our mission. I said, what mission? He said, you are supposed to be my army commander.
You are army commander then?
And I was army commander then. I said, good. Then our discussion was
implemented.
Providential. Had God in it. So I said, you better work hard to become president. Up to now, he hasn't. So you find that some of these things, some of these ideas, and when I joined, I really did not have what we discussed in that room about. But when I joined the armed forces, when I joined FONASA, when we were fighting Idi Amin, me, I went to just, if it was cooking, to cook, if it was carrying luggage, to carry, but because the president had told me in C7, and when I heard that he's the one who was leading the group, I just went, and we were tired of Idi Amin. And I had even organized people to collect fruits, that when the soldiers of Amin come, we throw fruits at them from the bush. Just mangoes. I mean, those bullets. But, see, of course, young people. So me, I said, if you are it is. So I went to join, just help in whatever way, but you can't go to a war without training. So they had to take us to military training, and we started training. The rest is history. Yes. But the thinking, the idea of being an army commander was on that after the Black Tuesday, but I had never thought about it. What you people are enjoying these days is, for us, we had challenges, we had eventful life. And my appeal, my greatest appeal, especially using these 100 years of Makerere. Makerere is the greatest institution that should write the history of Uganda. So that the history of Uganda is properly documented and is taught in all schools, so that it doesn't disappear. The Bible says, when your people have eaten, have become rich, and have prospered, do not forget where the Lord God, your God, got you from. That is what I would like to share with you, and to wish this 100 years of Makerere to be the best. There has never been a time in Uganda when the situation is as free. For us at our age, my generation, we don't know of a situation in Uganda when the country was as free for people to do what they like, do where they go, as long as they don't break the law as now. And we have seen young people grow. our NRIM children and grandchildren now. We would like you to enjoy the future by you learning from our mistakes, by learning from the challenges we had, by learning from our victories, and moving this country together. We in the Pan-African movement, we say, do not agonize, organize. I repeat, do not agonize, organize. The future belongs to the organized. And disaster awaits the disorganized. So, prepare whether you are 2 or 3. Sit and discuss the future of Uganda and what contribution you can make. We were rejoicing the Right Honorable Jacob Olanya. And my message for me no matter what somebody dies, I say celebrate his life. If you did research and looked for the values and the principles and the good he has left behind in our lives, and continue to immortalize those, you have done your little contribution. Great things don't need to be done by big things. Your little contribution where you are. You are the only person in that position. You are the only person by design. You are the only person with that DNA by your name, who has been there, who has never been there, who is only you, who is there now and who will never be there again. For one reason, that you make a unique contribution where you are. Then these small are the ones which add up to 2 big things. If you despise smaller things, you sleep with the most people in the world.
Maybe something specific.
Yes.
What do you miss? If 50 plus years when you left Makerere, what do you miss about Lumbo?
The glory of Makerere. What I miss is the glory of Makerere. You no longer proud of Makerere. That pride. Oh, Wanange, whenever you go to the village, they would know. They would know that a university student has arrived. We are few, but at the same time, we also carried the image of Makerere wherever we went. What you now hear of Makerere, like the current media, is not a negativity. What I would want is we bring back the glory of the best university in East Africa. It was actually referred to as the Oxford of East Africa because it was the best and the most respected university in the whole world. That's what I miss. I want that glory to come back. And how? It's your generation. Using these 100 years of remembrance, we have had about 2 other 3 alumni. And you find it brings us together. All these alumni, if they are mobilized, if they are organized, we can do quite a lot. It's a shame to see the image of Makerere as it looks. All the buildings dilapidated. We had wanted to do a fence, a wall around Makerere. There are many great things which can be done. There's no reason why there should be no skyscrapers around Makerere like Oxford built their city out of the university. Great ideas can come up, not just to remain as it was. Why? The numbers alone are a very big value. 40,000 students is something to talk about. So the main thing I miss is the people who are in Makerere not being as proud as we were. And that pride and glory is what we should work for, all of us. Whatever little each of us can put in, let's do it. And for us, we are available. Goodwill is there. Find us, look for us. We will give all what we can to make Makerere a greater Makerere. Great, greater man.